Musalia Mudavadi is on record saying that William Ruto will have to serve 2 terms, just like the other presidents, because they defeated Azimio la Umoja. But I need to make a correction. They were declared winners in the last presidential candidate, in the last presidential contest, despite the fact that Raila Odinga had the privilege of working closely with the deep state. That is what the son of, that is what Wycliffe, the son of Mudamba, Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi, has told the country. And I have been making a political observation here in this country that whenever the UDA administration is trying to explain their policies or explain their projects, they explain those projects in the context of in the next 10 years. Recently, the truthful man, Rigathi Gachagua, told us that Jubilee will have to work, will be in power for, not Jubilee, that UDA will be in power for 100 years. Young other leaders have also been coming out in public and bragging that maybe Azimio should think about 2037 or 2032 thereafter. That 2032 may be about Rigathi Gachagua. That's what they've been saying. I don't want to get to that. But there is a reality that is also coming in. And the reality here is that William Ruto is currently campaigning for a 10-year term. Number one. Number two, he's also trying to create a mtukufu rais environment where hapingwi, or he is, you know, anyone that wants to think about dethrowing him is an non-starter. That's it. But Azimio la Umoja are only sticking to the press briefings and partly the bunge la wananchi. This is what I'm saying. Ruto is re-strategizing, and the notion, the narrative that is going to serve a second term must be countered. Yes, that's where I was driving at. The narrative that Ruto must and will serve second term by hook or crook must be countered. And according to me, someone should share with Azimio this. The Azimio la Umoja team must design strategic, consistent, and visible communication or political mobilization strategy. I am picking the word there, visible. Visible in the sense that it should be something that will grab the media attention. The media is looking for news they don't have. As alternative, the mass action was working for them because, sorry to say, it was, there are those people who hacked the process and planted goons. There are also some very helpless Kenyans who decided to use the opportunity to destroy other people's properties. And I don't think it's destroy, but the word is to steal other people's properties. But mass action was more visible. On mass action day, if you will see mainstream, they even stop, interrupt normal programming and take the coverage for that mass action. You will see social media, YouTube channels running full day live streaming mass action, 24 hours. So alternatively, the reason why they must look for or design political mobilization strategy here is the strategy they use must be visible. Let me use a good example. Take it from me. Media partly marketed Ruto's bottom-up. Do you remember the clip of Musalia Mudavadi putting the bottle this way, saying, when the meaning of bottom up is when the bottle is up? Okay? Remember the wheelbarrow, the way the wheelbarrow was riddled by the media asking what was about it, and the opposition and Raila Odinga were really talking about it. But that symbol of wheelbarrow, it was riddled, but UDA maneuvered their way with it, and before you know, it was changed from the wheelbarrow party to a bottom-up economic model, and before that it was from the wheelbarrow, it was donating some chairs, some sewing machines, and here and there, and we call it tokenism. Yeah, we called it tokenism, but it was a political mobilization design. As to whether it worked or not, I may not know. But I was just saying it was used. So now, with the mass action not going on, Azimio la Umoja should design a political mobilization strategy. If it is town hall meetings, there should be something striking about those town hall meetings that the media can capture, criticize, and even amplify. Let me say, 8.1 million projection vote that Jeremiah Kioni and the team have been making during town hall meetings cannot be projected well by the media, because those figures lacks the merit of attribution. In media, there is something called news attribution, where you must attribute. When you say 10% of Kenyans are dying of malaria, you must say this is according to World Health Organization, or this is according to data from XYZ. So when you say 8.1 million, it lacks the merit of attribution, because you cannot attribute a whistleblower, and media will not run with that story. And that's gospel truth. That's the gospel truth that maybe some of us don't want to tell you, but because we are at home, we will have to tell you that. So we need to make it work. During those town hall meetings, we must say something that will be striking. Number two, let's create the center of power. UDA knew that Uhuru Kenyatta, that William Ruto was going to be the candidate. Now, let the country get used to, as early as now, who is the presidential candidate for 2027. If indeed Azimio are looking for 2027. Ask me. I saw recently activities being moved, Azimio activities being moved to Kalonzo Musyoka's command center, and I was so happy. I saw photos of Raila and Kalonzo, very jovial. I was so happy. So, if someone is thinking of Kalonzo Karua ticket, put that ticket in front. Put Kalonzo and Martha Karua in front, and Raila take a back seat and push these fellows. Let these fellows start feeling the wrath of Kenyans. Let those who support William Ruto start imagining that it can be Kalonzo or Karua. Let them get used to those messages. Let Raila take 1 month off, or even 1 week off, so that if Azimio is saying something, and the media is saying something, let us start seeing Karua and Kalonzo taking the headline, their photos being in the headline of the Sunday Nation and Standard, when Azimio is recalling a mass action. These are things that people don't want to say, but that is the truth. We must establish the center of power. If you want to grab power, you know, the Esla Center was established as the center of power. So if it is Kalonzo Musyoka's command center, let's establish Kalonzo Musyoka's command center. Let's put Kalonzo in front. Even without, you know, I know someone might say that that will mean that Raila is going down, or rather is going to... No. It's not about announcing Kalonzo as the presidential candidate, but people will just understand, nyewe, siku hizi baba ameweka Kalonzo mbele ni kama Kalonzo. Let people get it. That does not mean that I'm saying Kalonzo must be the candidate. I'm just giving an example. When we are pushing Uhuru Ruto criticism, Azimio must give the alternative ideas. I want to use an example. Raila said he doesn't know how Ruto arrived at 3% as the housing levy. Why not 2 or 1? Yes, and I said yes. Yes, I was so happy. Yes, that's it. So what they would have done is they would have said, reject it, but if you want to achieve the housing scheme, do this. Or we reject it, instead of 3%, we propose 1%. Somewhere in the middle, when you make these proposals and counter proposals, you make those counter proposals and go to the street and say, I know they've said that if finance bill is passed, if Ruto uses the majority in parliament to pass the finance bill, then they will have no alternative but to go to Kenyans and tell Kenyans to protest about it. But as you protest, when you go back to the drawing board after protest, you will realize that, okay, we need to repeal and change. But if you protest after, it should be able to protest before. 3, very important, political party revamping. Yes, our democracy is domiciled in political parties. Political parties for long has been the vehicle of people elevating leaders to the higher office. So let us revamp Azimio la Umoja if we really mean we want to use it to rise to presidency. Let us revamp Azimio la Umoja if we want to use Azimio la Umoja. If we are going back to our parties, constituent parties, like if they're going back to Jubilee, ODM and the other parties, it's good that Azimio is united in fighting for Jubilee. Let them go back for those parties and fight for those parties. Because when they do that, they will show the seriousness and with the strength of the political party, you will also show signals that you really mean well for this country, that you are also being prepared. I know Ruto has crippled finances under the ORPP, and Kenyans have been made debate. You know, there is one thing that Ruto has known. If there is something he wants to do, he brings that debate to public. He has started a debate why should government bail fund political parties. He has started that debate. But while he's saying that, UDA is currently running by a budget that largely is from the state machinery. I have been seeing young people in this country, and I'm so interested. I'm not a very good fan of TikTok. I'm not a good fan, but I don't know, you've also bumped on videos of the way young people and very creative fellows in TikTok have been sharing some interesting skits. I saw just one the other day where William Ruto is making one of those funny jokes about promises, those endless promises. And someone comes with besen and a funika. Then Ruto keeps quiet. There is one he's talking, then someone comes and allegedly kicks him, saying, you know, when I saw those videos, when I normally saw those videos, when I say, yes, I know those young people are looking for money in TikTok. But the ideology and the concept of using Ruto's lies to create content is something that should worry those who are vouching for William Ruto's second term. It tells you that even the country is looking at it differently, that Ruto is overlying. You know, that something is exactly going on wrong here. Even those who support are also saying, hapo huyu anaenda sana. You know, there are also people who are saying that. And on that ground, Raila Odinga started with a very strong political aggression on mass action, and immediately the bipartisan talks gathered steam, the mass action was stopped, and currently the bipartisan talks are going on. And on the bipartisan talks, they're reading from different scripts. Ruto is pushing for demands that do not lead to a referendum, demands that can go back to parliament. For example, both Uhuru and Ruto, both Uhuru and Raila, not both Uhuru, both Ruto and Raila are vouching for the position of the opposition leader. But the difference is on how. While Ruto wants it to be, to be created through an act of parliament, Raila Odinga is saying, let's go to a referendum and institutionalize it, because it's not about me, but it's about the country. I may not be the person who will hold that position, even if it will take effect after 2027, but let's do it through the public vote. Referendum, which is it is one of the most sensitive public participation. Now, and Ruto has opposed. Ruto wants something done through parliament. And Raila Odinga team have crafted, and have been making a strategy. The Azimio team, as the bipartisan talks goes on, they've crafted just press briefings, calling one press briefing after the other. And the best example is commenting on the finance bill. And number two is decentralized Bunge la Wananchi structure model. It's a model that has also technically been used, and it's thriving in the social media. But on the other side, UDA is doing grassroots mobilization in the Nyanza belt. In the Eastern belt, UDM is also doing mobilization, because in the Northeastern belt, for example, Isiolo, Jubilee gathered more votes than UDA in terms of governor, senate, and women rep. UDM scooped more MPs in the Northeastern region than even some of these parties in some specific counties. So parties that are affiliated to UDA, especially the two I've mentioned, are currently involved in some sort of vote, some grassroots mobilization, state coffers. So while we can have a debate about how parties could be funded, but UDA is currently being funded by the administration. So those are my objections. Those are my points. I believe that someone around Azimio think tank should think around it and have a sit down with me, so that maybe you can get what I think. You need to think through it. The likes of Gaucho and Nuru Okanga will find themselves in the middle of nowhere if the Azimio team cannot put the house in order and lay down a structure.